We're going to get started. Apologies for the delay. Given that this is the PISFIS Public Safety Finance Strategic Support Committee, let me just say that I was at the recent fire that took place just yesterday in District 2, so I was getting a tour of the site and such. No one was hurt. Good thing. Some items were lost, but anyhow, apologize for being late. First thing we're going to do is, let me just read something to the public in here. Before we begin, I want to remind the Public Safety, Finance, and Strategic Support Committee members and members of the public to follow our code of conduct at meetings. This includes commenting on specific agenda items only and addressing the full body. Public speakers will not engage in a conversation with the chair, council members, or staff. All members of the Public Safety, Finance, and Strategic Support Committee, staff, and public are expected to refrain from abusive language. Repeated failure to comply with the code of conduct, which will disturb, disrupt, or impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, may result in a removal from the meeting. This meeting in the Public Safety, Finance, Strategic Support Committee will now come to order, and the clerk, if you can please call roll.
Batra, Torres,
Present.
Kamei,
Present.
Doan,
Present.
and Jimenez. Thank you.
Present. Thank you. We'll go to item B, which is review of the work plan. On there, we have the committee work plan for January 23rd through this month, actually. We also have item 2, city initiative roadmap, digital workforce, one city workplace status report, which is dropped. And in addition to that, and probably this is I know a lot of folks are watching this item, response to investigations of police misconduct in San Jose, report by the IPA, or the contractor we had look at this. I know we dropped that. Lee, do you want to just share a few words as to why? I mean, I know why, but I think it'd be good for everyone here.
Sure, happy to share. That report is a report that was directed by the council and commission and reviewed and brought forward by the independent police auditor. So we've deferred that, and as the mayor and council try to identify an interim and then permanent IPA, we'll work with that individual to bring this forward, as early as August when this committee meets, if appropriate.
Very good. And I'll just add before we close out this section of the meeting is that as it relates to this item, you all should know that it's my interest, and I believe likely the interest of the majority of the council, to not let the fact that we're actually, that the IPA is retiring, or the fact that we're going to go and have a selection committee of sorts find a new IPA delay some of this work and delay some of this work coming forward. So that's the hope and expectation, I think, from the council and the will of the council. So my hope is that it comes back sometime relatively soon. Obviously, we're off in July, so August, September-ish, the latest. That'd be great.
Yeah, staff is totally supportive of that, so long as there's an IPA. And for the general community, because we did get emails on this, it would be, the IPA in her title has independent. And so it would be awkward for me as the assistant city manager to present her report without you guys being able to ask someone that has that independence about, why the report says this and not that. So we want to ensure that you guys have that credibility as this comes forward.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. We'll go to the public and then we'll come back to the council if you have any questions. Do we have any speakers from the public?
Yes, Blair Beekman.
And this is on the review of the work plan.
Yeah, hi. Definitely. Thank you. Hi, Blair Beekman here. Thank you very much for taking public comment and for speaking about the consent calendar agenda items, and includes talking about the current state of the IPA and the report on the status of police practices that I think a lot of people are really interested in right now. Obviously, the fentanyl issues are going to have a lot to do with this upcoming report, and it's going to have to say a lot. And it's going to have to speak to that in some terms. And I think we're all waiting to see what that's going to be, how that's going to be talked about. As Siobhan has been like part of the IPA for a really long time, is there someone within IPA who, in Siobhan's assistant role, she was always there to fill in for when IPA heads needed to, they couldn't be around for a while. or in between IPAs, looking for new IPAs? Is there an assistant IPA at this time who we can refer to as a fill-in person to talk to about issues happening now? Hopefully you can talk about that, make that clear with the public. And just a thank you for the work of Siobhan. I mean, she's been here since at least 2010, 2005, even maybe that far back. So thank you for her work. I wish she could still be here. This fentanyl issue is a lot, and I wish we had her years of experience to help out at this time. To conclude with 15 seconds around the issues of the monthly reports at this time, I just hope our budget issues, we can talk about law enforcement still and modify.
Caller ending in 2246.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Hedges, and I just want to second everything that Blair Beekman said. I'm really concerned about a lot of issues going on with the police department, the police union, the fentanyl scandal, and losing our independent police auditor. So I hope we can navigate this situation and not let things be swept under the rug. Thank you.
Paul?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't think anybody will disagree that in order to have a functional democracy, that the department has to be in place. However, the integrity by which that department functions, now that is obviously recently become questionable, and that's not. It's just not okay not to talk about it. It's healthy to. It's healthy because then you can start involving the community in really instituting community policing, which is what we had agreed upon post-reform. But for whatever reasons, that never came to fruition. And okay, well, so be it. But we're at where we're at now, and obviously, you guys are cleaning house, which is good. It's necessary. When the public calls, they have to have the confidence that the person that's arriving is able to have that degree of integrity and fidelity to what they were sworn to do. I mean, this is just really basic. But when circumstances arise where that becomes a question, as a citizenry, that's not okay. It's not healthy to do that. And so what I'm saying is that by putting that on the table and being honest about it, then there can be the open door for discussion. But the stonewalling isn't going to work. It's just it's.
Back to the committee.
Okay, turn it back to the, we don't need a motion on this, but if any council members have comments, committee members have comments.
No, sorry.
Sorry, I should have called you.
Yeah,
I saw the list.
sorry,
My
Mr. Chair.
apologies. Go ahead, Councilmember Torres.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important. Thank you for reminding the audience members and those who are listening that this item is not going to be, buried in bureaucracy, and that we're going to hear it once, hopefully, we are able to hear it. So, and thank you, Lee, for your comments as well.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, we'll move on to the consent calendar. We have the bi-monthly financial report. Jim, I presume you don't necessarily need to do the presentation, or there actually is no presentation. So if I can get a motion or questions from, actually, before we go there, let's go to the public comment. Consent calendar, any comments from the public?
Yes. Blair Beekman?
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thank you for asking for public comment. This, I think, may be a better time to ask and to offer that there's still a few weeks remaining before our budget is official. There still can be time to make asks. What sort of law enforcement and surveillance tech may be a bit redundant, over the top, not needed when we can be considering ideas of reimagine and just
Blair,
minimal
I'm not
use.
so sure this is on the consent calendar, but if you
Well,
can-
as it's around financial reporting, I figured it could be applicable.
yeah,
So I'll stop now, and just a reminder for yourselves to look at these things and be aware. And minimal use and reimagine are important concepts. And good luck how we can look for those and practice those good things. Thanks.
Caller ending in 2246.
Hi, this is Catherine Hedges, and I share Blair Beekman's concerns and second what he just said. And hopefully we can implement more of the reimagining public safety recommendations. Thank you.
Paul?
Thank you. Within the near future, we're going to have to consider raising the sales tax. You're going to have a large influx of business within the next year or two, and that's going to necessarily mean that you're going to maybe raise it a quarter, maybe a half a cent, something like that, just so that it offsets the inflation. We need to keep that coffer filled. One of the things that I also wanted to address is that a large portion of the unhoused population pays for motels. And so that transient tax is not only paid by visitors, it's paid by locals. So there's a lot of money that is generated in that tax that goes directly to arts. And so what I'd like to suggest is that since a large portion of the unhoused population accesses that as a resource, then maybe some portion of those taxes can go towards that population. I mean, it's just an idea, but it seems consistent with, considering that that is the population that's paying those taxes. Whenever it's talked about it in the Arts Commission, it's always talked about as if these are the only monies that are generated are from visitors, and that's just not true. So those are my two suggestions. Thanks.
okay, thank you. I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to move forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Before we take a vote, let me just express appreciative of all the efforts, Jim and your team. Obviously, we just got through the budget, and I know we put you through hell with all the damn questions. But thank you very much for all the work. We appreciate it. Thank you. And we'll take a roll call.
Torres? Yes. Kamei? Doan?
Aye.
And Jimenez?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to reports to the committee. Item 1 is the Suicide Prevention Policy and Annual Report. I know we have Sada that's going to talk to us a little bit about that.
While we're waiting for the report, Jim, you like the pressure. You know it.
Whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Sarah Sarate. I'm the Director of the Office of Administration, Policy, and Intergovernmental Relations, joined by Nora Chin, Assistant to the City Manager. We are here to present the Suicide Prevention Policy Annual Report. So a brief recap of why we're here. The city adopted the City Council Policy 45, the Suicide Prevention Policy, in March of 2020. Importantly, the primary role for the city in this space is information sharing. We do not hold or independently analyze any of the data that will be presented to you today. That's done by the county and the medical examiner. As such, the intention of the city policy is to raise awareness of suicide as a major issue in the city, increase knowledge and share resources with staff and residents throughout San Jose. And the city's work is aligned with the County of Santa Clara's Suicide Prevention Strategic Plan. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Nora Chin, who's going to share with you some details that come from the county's report.
Good afternoon, committee members. So we'll jump right in. After a 3-year decline from the 2014 to 2017 period of time, the county's suicide count and rate increased to 148 deaths in 2018 and in 169 deaths in 2019. The 2019 count and rate represents a 10-year high for the county. The 2020 count does represent the beginning of a trend downward. So based on the available data, the suicide rate and raw numbers appear to be trending down ever since 2019. So during this time, female death within the county decreased, and the number of male deaths remained consistent within the county. Here we are. So this slide shows the count of suicide remaining highest in the 25 to 64 age groups. Rates of suicide generally increase with age. It should be noted that there were decreases in the rate of suicide for a majority of the age groups over the 2019 to 2020 period, while age groups 15 to 24, 45 to 64 saw slight decreases. So in this San Jose specific slide, over the 4-year period, suicide deaths in San Jose fluctuated within each age group. This table is representative of the percentage of suicide deaths within each age group in the city of San Jose. So as noted, the 25 to 34, 35 to 44, and 55 to 64 age groups experience a higher percentage of suicide deaths. There we are. Suicide deaths remain the highest among the white population, with the highest count among the 45 to 64 middle age group. The highest rate of suicide deaths is amongst the Pacific Islander population, remaining consistent between 2019 and 2020. The Asian community saw a rise between 2018 to 2019 and a slight decline in suicide deaths in 2020. The Hispanic community also saw an increase in 2020 from its 2018 and 2019 counts. And then finally, the Black and African American population experienced a slight decrease over the 2-year period. These tables show the suicide rate and count by race in San Jose specifically over the 2016 to 2020 time periods. The count of suicide deaths is highest amongst the white population, followed by the Asian and Hispanic communities. Adjusted for population size, the rate of suicide is still highest among the white community. As a whole, hanging and firearms remain the 2 most common methods of suicide for 2020. These methods of suicide are the most prevalent among all ethnic groups aside from the Black and white population. These primary methods of suicide appear to increase with age. And then finally, drugging increased and are higher than previous years. These charts demonstrate the use of firearms versus hangings over the age groups. You will note that there is an inverse relationship between these methods of suicide. It seems that as people age, there's a greater tendency to use firearms as a form of suicide. And then inversely, as people age, the percentage of suicide deaths through hanging decreases. From August 2022 to May 2023, staff continue to advance the city's suicide prevention council policy with ongoing communications with the mayor and city council, as well as current employees and the retiree associations. The city standard operating procedures remain the same. And then city residents were continually informed about different suicide prevention and mental health awareness resources through the city manager's 30-day roundup newsletter, and it's May 2022 edition. And then through the city and county's continued partnership, staff shared the county's various resources, including events, trainings, gun violence prevention information, and campaigns geared toward minorities and women of color. So staff continues to participate with the county's Suicide Prevention Oversight Committee every other month. So finally, these are our next steps. Staff's going to continue to participate in the county's Suicide Prevention Oversight Committee. And then we're going to share communications that raise awareness about mental health as well as suicide prevention and other resources and trainings. That said, we're going to continue this collaboration. And then following this update, we're going to continue to provide an annual update through an information memo, and then adjust our fall 2023 public safety, finance, and strategic support work plan accordingly. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Sarah.
Thanks, Nora. Before closing, I want to highlight that last year, the County of Santa Clara launched a lifeline phone number for people to call in times of mental health or substance use crisis. It has teams of trained counselors available to offer support by phone or an in-person response, depending on the nature of the situation. The service is free, confidential, and available 24 hours a day. If you or a loved one is in crisis, we encourage them to call 988 for help. Lastly, I want to thank our colleagues in the City Manager's Office of Communications and the Office of Employee Relations for helping implement this policy throughout the year. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the sobering report and numbers. We'll go to the public to see if there's any public comment on the item before we come back to the committee.
Caller ending in 2246.
Good afternoon. I would like to second all the recommendations for non-police mental health and substance abuse crisis response. And I strongly support including additional funding for additional trust teams and also a direct number to call the trust program. Thank you.
Blair?
Very nice words. Hi, Blair Beekman here. Very nice words from Catherine Hedges. Thank you. Thank you to Councilperson Jimenez for his patience and listening to my earlier public comment. I have actually figured out an exact reasoning to why I said the words I did earlier, and that fits very well. I'll try to offer them at open forum time and see if it sounds good to you. For this item, very much of a thank you that for this item. My best friend passed away from suicide. It was technically an accident, but he had a lot of suicidal idealizations that I think helped contributed if it was an accident. So it's just kind of a sad thing when you going through that process. And so I really appreciated the words of Catherine Hedges. If we can have mental health support ready and really practice, non-police techniques to do that, good luck in doing that. I wanted to comment with my remaining time that this was a item that talked a lot about suicide history from pre-COVID. I hope those are good beginnings to create a foundation of what we're dealing with in this COVID era and post-COVID era. That obviously suicides have gone up a bit. To learn to talk about that COVID era and how we're trying to leave that COVID era. Good luck how we can do that. How to leave that. How to build sustainability for ourselves at this time and positiveness. And you know how I want.
Paul?
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. That was difficult to listen to. 156 deaths. That's as much as on par with how many people die on the street due to being unhoused. And it's more than murders and vehicle accidents, deaths combined. And so what I'd like to see is, rather than deferring it to the county to create a policy, you have enough information there to create a position. And I think the city should, if you're going to start talking about suicide, and this is something that you're going to articulate and use resources to submit support, then I think we should also follow that up a policy. I think that's just an ethical thing to do, because you're talking about. I've witnessed suicides. I've seen them in the cells right across from me. I remember two distinctly. And it's when you sit there and you're just like what happened? I mean, you feel like so disillusioned because you feel powerless. Like you should have sent something and tried to help, but didn't. Because everybody is concerned about just their own lives. But sometimes we forget that people that are suffering are really right next to us and don't even know it. And that's why I think the policy on suicide from the city, I think, would be in alignment with its character and its aspirations, moral, civil, and.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. We're going to go to some of the committee members. Councilmember Torres had some comments.
Yeah, I actually have a question, a couple questions actually. I know this is a incredibly sad topic to talk about, especially seeing the numbers that we have here, and number of suicides that we have in our city of San Jose, and especially broken down in age groups and races. So the first question is, because I saw it here, I see drugging and poisoning. We know that we have a fentanyl crisis, right? We know that we have a major drug addiction problem with our unhoused, but also folks who are not unhoused, right? Because I don't want to put two and two together, right? We all have drug addiction issues. I see drugging, is overdosing, how is that classified? Is that classified as an accident or suicide?
Thank you for the question, Council Member. If the data point is included in the statistics that were reported, then it is categorically a suicide. But we don't really know further than that what other considerations the medical examiner is using.
Captain Donahue, can you help with that? I think PD, when they're working with the DA's office or medical examiner, can maybe chat about what differentiates
Great.
those two.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain. Sorry to call you early. I know you're the next item, but thank you, Captain.
No problem. Good afternoon, Steve Donahue, San Jose Police Department. So if there's evidence that the overdose was an intentional overdose, or there's evidence that would lead the medical examiner to believe that that person overdosed with some purpose, then that would be categorized as a suicide. However, if there's no evidence in the case that would allow that conclusion to be made, it would be accidental and it wouldn't be included in the statistics.
Great. So evidence like sending a
note.
text to somebody or leaving a note and said, I'm going to OD on something or drink myself to death, and then they pass away, and then that's
Yes.
considered suicide.
Yes, so if they leave a note, that would be evidence that would be indicative of that.
Okay. But sometimes we don't know because that person, we don't know what they're going through, right? So there might be no text, there might be no communication to other folks, right? Especially, folks who are, unfortunately by themselves or living unhoused, right? So, but no, thank you for those answers.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The other one is, and this is before I speak about the statement that I'm about to share. Does the county break down number of suicides for folks who identify as LGBTQ+ or gender nonconforming?
I don't believe in this report the county does that. However, we can ask our counterpart at the county if they might have some of that information.
No, sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thanks, Nora. I was going to add that the report where we pull all of the data points from, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of narrative. It's just graphs. So we don't have a lot of the detailed information behind the data points, but as Nora noted, we could always follow up with them.
Okay, cool. No, thank you for that. I think it's super important and of course it's not your fault again. So I'm not here to bash our city staff ever. But as a LGBTQ plus man and somebody who has had friends in the LGBTQ community, LGBTQ plus community who have committed suicide or experienced depression because of their preference. It's just incredibly important to get that information. I know, of course, I'm not here to bash our city staff, but as an LGBTQ plus member on this committee, I think it behooves us to have that information, not only for myself, but also for our large LGBTQ community out in our city who unfortunately we as a community hear and see, right, the craziness that is happening in this world, right? I know we're in a blue city, in a blue county, but what we see and we read and the fear that we have every single day still of our sexual identity, then it behooves us to have that information. So,
Councilmember, one more thing to add. I did do a quick search of the fiscal year report, and it does note that they had some dedicated outreach around LGBTQ populations, and that there's representation in their task forces around this.
Okay,
so
great.
There's some work there.
Great. And with that, I move item D.1.
Oh, second.
There's a second, and then we're going to go to some additional comments or questions for Vice Mayor Kamei.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your work and for the report. I noticed a lot of the collaborative work, especially that's done in the school, has really increased over time, including more school districts. I was a little bit curious as to why San Jose Unified School District was not in there. And maybe they have their own programs or whatever, but I didn't see them on the list. And so I was curious about that, since they're one of the largest school districts in our city, and just wondering about that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. You are correct that the engagement with school districts has increased over time. I can't speak for San Jose Unified School District and why they aren't listed in the report, but my understanding is that last year there were some conversations between the county program and the district, but I don't know what came of those. I'd be happy to follow up with the county and ask.
I think that's critically important, and anything that my office can do to help, to assist, to encourage. It's one of the larger school districts, and to have it totally absent is a little bit unusual, and maybe they have their own things that they're doing, which is fine, but I think that together we probably can do more. And they're an important part of our community. So I really would like to maybe stretch a little bit and reach out to them. I personally am happy to do them. I know the superintendent, so I think that that's something that we can do. I also think that there, you know, as I was looking at the activities that were being done, this topic is so critically important. It really is. I know that, you know, I have had family members who have suffered, who have committed suicide, and it takes all of us to really let people know that there is help out there, and that it is okay, that, you know, there should be no shame in it in terms of if you need, you know, to talk to someone or to find a path to understanding what's going on. So I think that involving many of our offices would be helpful. I think that as these activities, I looked at some of the activities and they sounded really great. And I think that, you know, each one of us have newsletters to go out in terms of creating greater awareness. We could amplify what you're already doing. And I would suggest, quote unquote, using us as a council and mayor to be able to also put out the word that there is help out there if needed, that you're not alone, that in fact that there could be a way of being able to provide some help and assistance. So thanks again for the work that you do. Thanks for the report. And you know, I look forward to working more closely on this issue because I think that creating that greater awareness helps us all.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. We're going to go to Councilmember Duan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sarah and Nora, for putting together the report. I know is there a breakdown within the city employees of how many suicide we have?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember. I do not have that data point. We get the data points at the city level. We could certainly follow up with the Public Works office or HR, but I don't have that available. I'd be happy to follow up.
Yes, I appreciate that. And our Employee Assistance Program, EAP, now, if you are with police and fire, there you can get you know, help pretty quickly and over a long period of time. If you're just regular employees, how many allotted session can a person go to get help? Do you know?
I'm happy to take that. There's a kind of at first 5-session referral and kind of checkup. And if more are deemed after that, more can be added on. It is something that we have pushed out to our employees, especially, you know, starting in 2020, much more aggressively than we have in the past.
Thank you for that, because I know a lot of employees who reach out and thought they only got 5 sessions, and so it's such a short period of time, and sometimes some of these issues are very complicated and takes, you know, enormous amount of session to resolve. I know that I personally experienced multiple suicide within the fire department, and I know there are some in the police as well. And it's painful. We always ask, can we prevent it? I believe we can. And by communicating and looking out for all the sign and symptom, from anxiety to depressions and from drug addiction to many other aspects, to understand your employees and to recognize it and get them the help early. And I think that's our responsibility. And how do we reach out to young people from age 24 to 33? And I saw that the rise, and I know that from Evergreen College to Mission College, West Valley, perhaps even Foothill, these are young adults that under tremendous amount of stress, from schooling to working and trying to find housing. Some even are homeless. Do we have any programs that reach out to the young people?
Thank you, Council Member. By we, are you speaking of the county or the city?
It's a combination of both.
Okay. Yeah. So the county does have targeted outreach campaigns that respond to the statistics that they're seeing. I'd be very happy to follow up with them to ask for more specifics around what they're doing with youth. But they do a lot of work in schools, as previously mentioned, including what they call S4SP, the Schools for Suicide Prevention Partnership. So they have a multi-pronged approach for sharing information and ensuring that community members are informed of how they can help identify and potentially prevent a suicide. There's certain community engagements that are targeted around schools, there's some that are targeted around parents, and then there's more general ones that are happening in the community.
Thank you. I know that our city now employ quite a bit of young people. And is there a kind of like a mandatory training when you first got hired by the city in order for them to understand that not only they have the EAP, they have these, the county and 988 and other option. So that way our new employee understand there are a lot of resource, a lot of help out there. So that way they don't fall in that crack somewhere.
Why don't you go ahead and start?
Thanks, Lee. Councilmember, I don't think there's any mandatory training around this area. However, as part of implementation of the policy, our Office of Employee Relations regularly provides information to both current employees as well as our retirees.
As we onboard employees, us capturing this benefit as well as all the benefits is a priority of the Office of Employee Relations, and we rely on all of our bargaining units too as they onboard employees through different methods to really highlight these opportunities and offers to employees. We did start in 2020, it is not mandatory, but trauma-informed care training throughout the organization as well, which a number of employees have participated in. We've encouraged managers to really go through that training so that they can help their own individual teams and units as well.
Thank you, Lee. And within the fire department and police department, we have the CISM team. And I wonder, right here in, right at City Hall or any other, with all the departments we have, I think we should have training so that way we have CISM team in every single department, because when you know your peers, you understand who they are and what the situation they're in. It's easier to talk to and easier to get help. And do we have any training towards CISM team for all the department that we have here in the city?
I would be very happy to follow up with our Director of HR and Office of Employee Relations and follow up with your office.
Thank you. We can always copy the model from police and fire as well. It's employees on a volunteer basis that can talk to their peers and counsel or suggestion. Just majority of the time is people want to be heard and able to let things out, and we hopefully can refer or find solution for them. And thank you for your great work, and thank you, Lee, for answering my question, and I'll yield my time.
Thank you for all those good questions and comments. I do have one or a few points, but Sarah, just so I understand, or Nora, if you want to answer. So there was a comment from Councilmember Torres about LGBTQ plus community sort of stats, and I know that Vice Mayor Kamei mentioned San Jose Unified. So we don't need direction in the motion to direct you to pull that information or to inquire or anything. You're going to go out and do that when you have that meeting with the county?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Nora will support that.
Okay, yeah, those seem like, very, very straightforward requests, and I appreciate those efforts. I also just want to say on everything that Councilmember JUN was talking about, and this goes to all my council colleagues, but I know that there's a group of retired firefighters and police officers that are going around having meetings with some of us and talking about mental health issues as it relates to retirees based on everything they've seen. And so I know I've taken some of those calls and actually had a meeting, talked to Matt Tuttle from Local 230, but I think it's important to understand that obviously all the stuff that's offered to current employees is super important. We hope they take advantage of it. But also I think it's important not to forget folks after they retire, whether it be a police officer or a firefighter, and some of the stuff that they have to sort of manage and live with, because some of the suicides have, happened in that space, obviously. And so it's a longer conversation, obviously not tied specifically to this topic, but I know the suicides have been part and parcel of some of what's resulted from some of the challenges that they've had in retirement.
And Councilmember, the Office of Employee Relations does send out communication specifically on these topics several times a year to the retirees.
Good. And then the very last question is, Sarah, can you remind me what Councilmember Peralez's role was in some of this, in the suicide prevention policy? I don't know. I think you were around, or I'm not sure if you were handling this at that time, but.
So this item was prioritized with his leadership. Okay. We brought it to the council in 2020 and it was adopted. So that was kind of the extent of the formal role.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to remind myself, because that was my recollection, is that I know he spearheaded sort of lifting this up as an issue. I think it was shortly after maybe a personal friend of his committed suicide, but also I know there was someone that fell off a building next to City Hall. And so I doubt he's listening. He should be working on patrol or something, but I just wanted to say to Councilmember Peralez that we very much appreciate him lifting this up. And I would just say to my colleagues up here that if you ever doubt that you can't make an impact while you're here, I think some of these lifting up important things that are important to you or your constituents have a life after you leave office, and so I very much appreciate Councilmember Peralez's effort. So with that, I'll stop talking. We'll entertain, I think there is a motion in a second, actually, so we'll just vote.
Torres? Yeah. Kamei? Doan?
Aye.
And Jimenez?
Aye.
Thank you.
Passes unanimously. We're going to go to item D2, which is the Police Department Operations and Performance Bi-Monthly Status Report, and I know we have Mr. Hamlin, Lieutenant Hamlin, here to present, and I know Southern Division Captain Donahue is also here.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I am Lieutenant Paul Hamlin, Commander of the Research and Development Unit of the San Jose Police Department, and today I will be presenting the department's Operations and Performance Bi-Monthly Status Report. Today we will be covering citywide crime statistics for March, which is the most recent month we have available. And then I will talk about stolen vehicles and show you the year-long stolen vehicle stats for 2022. And finally, I'll provide an update on our redistricting efforts and a brief overview on the project. We'll begin with our citywide Part 1 UCR crime stats for March. As usual, on the right, you will see the 5-year average for each crime in the month of March, as well as the percentage of change between March of this year and the average over the past 5 years. Rapes in March of 2023 are up 20% over the 5-year average, in part due to the low numbers during COVID and partly due to our intersectionality of reporting, which we've discussed at prior meetings. However, they are down 9.3% from 2022, which is encouraging. Here's a list of sex offense incidents broken down by crime type. The one anomaly we see is reports of sexual assaults with an object, jumping 66.7% above the 5-year average. I spoke with our sexual assaults investigations unit and found that over half of those reports were historical, meaning that they were reported in March but occurred in a previous month. So when we take that into consideration, that number more or less conforms with the previous data for that crime. Next, I wanted to spend a moment on motor vehicle theft, because not only were they up 16% in March over the 5-year average, but in my last report, vehicle thefts were up 7.4% in January and February of this year. As I told you in April, vehicle theft is a very seasonal crime. As we look at the month-by-month numbers for the entire year of 2022, you'll notice that the highest months are in the winter, with January being by far the highest with 635 and December coming in at 573. There's no mystery here. This has to do with warm-ups. People going outside and turning on the engine so that they can have the heater and the defroster running and then going back inside. The other peak you'll notice is in the summer months, particularly July and August, with 583 and 590 respectively. This has to do with kids being out of school. As I mentioned in my last report, our officers do a terrific job of educating our residents about vehicle theft, particularly at community policing meetings. They make community members aware of trends like these and give them tips on how to avoid being victimized by car thieves. For example, for years, the most popular cars to steal were Camrys and Accords, and the most common method was with shaved ignition keys. Now the most commonly stolen vehicles are Kias and Hyundais, and thieves are stealing them by breaking open the housing surrounding the steering column and plugging a USB drive into the wiring. I'd like to finish today by providing an update on our redistricting project. However, since my last update, we cleared a major milestone. So in addition to the update, I'd like to also give you a brief overview of this project as we go forward. As you know, this project is so much more than merely changing the borders of our patrol districts. It will truly change the way our department operates in almost every way. The milestone we recently cleared is that after a long, exhaustive process, we selected a vendor, Matrix Consulting Group, and that contract was executed with Matrix on April 28th, 2023. Now that we have the vendor, we have assembled a large, all-encompassing work group comprised of department personnel representing virtually every facet of the department, from support services to systems development to communications to fiscal. Under the direction of the project manager, Captain Steve Donahue, and me, this work group is in the process of collecting a copious amount of data about their operations, including performance measures, workloads, staffing, policies, and many other measurables. We're also working with other departments in the city to find out how best to work with them, and also to gather more information about city infrastructure, demographics, and population. Once all this data has been compiled, we will present it to the vendor, who will assess and evaluate every facet of our operation, then make recommendations on changes. We've broken up the process into two 24-week phases, the first of which will culminate in a final phase 1 report, which will include analyses on workload, staffing, and deployment, and recommendations for improvement. Phase 2 will concentrate on resource allocation, policies and procedures, technology, geography, and organizational structure and management, and will culminate in the final comprehensive redistricting report. I truly meant it when I said this project will change the department. We anticipate sweeping changes in many areas of our operation as an end result of this project, from deployment models such as 1-officer cars or 2-officer cars, to new approaches to responding to emergency and non-emergency calls for service, to changes to policies and procedures, to identifying new types of technology we use. We know this will not be an easy or a fast process, but we are excited for what it means to the future of our department and to the level of customer service we will be able to provide to the community. And now I'm here for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lieutenant. We're going to go to the public first, see if there's any comments.
Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I ran out of time on my previous public comment a bit. I was trying to say the words positiveness and sustainability. What are those things we can look to and work towards? How do we address those things for ourselves as a community? You know my work with tech accountability and what that tries to do for our community and future, and I'm hopeful in that effort. And these are a bit disappointing reports. It's good for me learning this stuff that when these March things were happening, David Cortese was trying to gather up how to understand if what to do in districts of San Jose where car thefts were happening. And I made pleas to be careful to not go overboard with tech issues, and we have to be mindful. And I'm hopeful that April and May have been a bit more positive for ourselves, and I'm wondering what exactly we can do to sustain that positiveness through the summer. What happened in May, besides it being spring and new warmth coming in and just happiness? How can we sustain that kind of thinking and ideas? And just a good luck to yourselves and all of us trying to consider how to do that. And yeah, it's really bringing out our better selves, how to do that stuff that transfers that good feeling and good energy, and people want to respond in kind. Good luck how we can try to practice those things this summer and into the fall. Thanks.
Back to the committee.
All right, thank you for those wise words, Blair. We're going to go to the committee now. We have Councilmember Duan.
Thank you, Captain and Lieutenant. Thank you for the report. My question to you is, how many of those sexual crime, rape, or any other category under sexual crime falls into human trafficking?
Thank you for that question, Council Member. I don't have the exact numbers on that. That's something we're going to be reporting twice a year. Doing our sexual assault investigation unit yearly report in February, and then again, I'm going to provide a second update on the gender-based crime work plan in September. I could kind of hazard a guess, but I don't think it would be exactly correct. So, but yeah, a pretty good percentage, and like I said, we'll definitely include that on a report in September.
Thank you. And I know in District 7, I think the police department is aware, and a lot of our community members aware of the human trafficking, which including sex trafficking and slavery and wage theft and crime and drugs underneath, especially on the Tully corridor. Does the police department have a plan to reduce that type of business in our city?
Yes, and that's operating out of our special victims unit, and I know that they're doing a lot of work. I know that the unit is trying to expand. They're trying to get funding for more officers to work in that unit, and I think they're doing the best they can and trying to expand and try to reach more corners of the city.
And Lieutenant, how many officers are assigned to that particular task?
Thank you for that question. I'm going to guess about 5 officers and 1 sergeant. It's going to be right around that number, I believe.
And I would imagine that that's quite a bit of cases that these officers have to deal with throughout the year.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what their caseload is. Again, that'll be something we can delve into and cover for you in September. But yeah, I think they're definitely overloaded with casework. Yes.
And how many extra staff do you need in order to accomplish the goal that the police department has?
That's a question I would have the unit commander, Lieutenant Roger Seymour, answer. I know that he's been working on that. He's been working on expanding that unit, and I don't know the number that I don't know if he has a specific goal in mind, but I would guess that he'd like to probably double it or more.
Right. Well, thank you. I have last question for you regarding the vehicle theft, and I know that's coming up. June, July, August, and September, even October is going to be high. Is our flock system has helped resolve a lot of these crime or not?
Yeah, the system I think is working very well. I think it's identified a lot of the vehicles. I know they've made a good number of arrests. I don't have the exact number. That can be something I can report on in a subsequent report, but I know that they've made a lot of arrests. They've also been able to identify the location of a lot of cars. I know that the cars they'll pass through those intersections very quickly, and we don't always have the manpower available at the exact time that's occurring, but pretty often we do. And the other thing that we have that's been very helpful is our air support unit, particularly Air 3, our helicopter. If they're not doing anything, if they're not helping out on a call, then they very often will respond immediately to the location where the vehicle is, and they can track it and follow it until officers are available to go in and make an arrest. So I don't have the numbers. That's something that I can include in a future report and see how we're doing. I think it's fairly new, so it probably would benefit us to wait a certain amount of time so we can get a clear picture on how much it's helping. But I do know, just anecdotally, I know that it is helping.
I'd like to comment on that too, Steve Donahue. I'm currently assigned to patrol in the Southern Division. Flock is outstanding. Our air support unit has the system in the helicopter, and when we get a flock hit, they're putting it out, patrol's stopping that car, or at least trying to before the car flees, all the time. And I see watch commander entries come through nearly every day. When that helicopter's up, we're getting stolen cars, wanted vehicles. We had one of our officers in Southern Division had a flock hit on a wanted vehicle for brandishing a weapon. That officer got the hit on the computer in their car before it was ever dispatched. And he moved into the area of where this occurred. He was able to be in the right spot when the call got dispatched, made him the priority dispatch. And so when that happened, he found the car at a gas station. They took the suspect into custody, did a probation search, and got 2 guns, brass knuckles, and ammunition off of that case. So this flock system has been phenomenal for the police department. It's an excellent pilot program that's produced tremendous amount of arrests, both for stolen vehicles and wanted vehicles throughout the city. The other thing I'd also I texted someone while Lieutenant Hamlin was talking. We have 3 officers and 1 sergeant assigned to the human trafficking unit at the police department, but we also work with our county partners in the Light Task Force to affect human trafficking through there. Okay.
Thank you for that report, and please ensure in the next report regarding the flock program, I think both the citizen and city council and the mayor like to see the result of our investment, and we want to understand how well the system works and expand on it. And I know that there was several cases where it was robbery here in District 7, and because of the flock system, we were able to track and follow them all the way to Oakland and many other cities as well in order to make arrest. And just to know that city as a whole, we support the, I believe it was AB 645, which is the speed camera. And I wonder somewhere down the line we can coordinate that, because usually criminal who come to town and do criminal things, they want to speed out of here. And hopefully the camera can catch not only their license plate, but their facial as well. And I just want to make sure that the criminal understand that when you come to the city of San Jose and you commit a crime like that, you're going to be recorded and we're going to catch you. And thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the next council member, but I would say that for everyone on the committee, if you hadn't had a chance to reach out to the police department to ride in the helicopter, actually see this play out live, I had a chance to do that. It was amazing. We're flying one moment, the flock hit comes in, and then you turn around right away and go after it and try to do exactly what was said. And the one you were talking about, Oakland, I was in that helicopter all the way to Oakland. So it was amazing to see them in action. They do a lot up there and it takes a lot of coordination, but it was wonderful to see, so I would encourage you to reach out. So with that, I'll go to Councilmember Torres.
Good afternoon, Captain Lieutenant. Thank you for your presentation. I just have a couple questions. Do we have, I remember back in the day when I worked for Strong Neighborhoods, our police department had decoys or dummies for, car burglaries or vehicle thefts. Do we still have that program, or do we have manpower or not manpower or lack of resources?
Are you talking about decoy vehicles like police cars that we would put in neighborhoods?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, unfortunately, due to COVID, our fleet is extremely depleted. We haven't been able to order any new police cars or unmarked vehicles for some time because of COVID and the supply chains for all auto manufacturers. So as a result of that, we have no extra fleet that we can park in a neighborhood as a decoy or a deterrent.
Okay. And we're not seeing that come back anytime soon?
No time soon. Right now, we need to replenish our fleet, have enough cars for the police officers before we ever can have those extras. Yeah. Okay. And I know that, I wake up every morning to hear the news, believe it or not. And I've been hearing and listening that Oakland, LA, and a few other cities have been really trying to tackle this, phenomenon of, I can never say the word, thank you, catalytic converters. That's why I'm a council member and not a mechanic, But what are we doing to make sure, because that's an ongoing issue in our neighborhoods, is the theft of those converters, I should say.
Yes, it sure is. And that crime in particular, it leads to a lot of violence as well. It's not just a theft. During the time that I was in the homicide unit, there were 2 homicides related to catalytic converter thefts. And that being said, we are very much looking into the same model that Los Angeles PD and the city of Los Angeles has adopted, which is we are exploring legislation that makes it a crime just to possess a catalytic converter without a license and without the proper documentation. That's something that we've really, it's in its infancy. It's something we've just begun working with our property crimes unit and with the city attorney and with IGR, and we're going to begin ramping up that process, and we would like to introduce some legislation here in the city on catalytic converters.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's super important. And then the other one, I'm really looking forward to. I know right now at a 30,000 bird's eye view, we're talking about redistricting our police department, right? And I know it's not gonna be an easy feat, but I'm a council district where I have Central, Western, and Foothill, and thank goodness I don't have the Deep South. No offense, Sergio, but I'm sure if we extended a little bit more past Alma, I would have the Southern Division, but I don't. And so, is that what we're talking about? We're talking about redistricting our Central, Western, Foothill, Southern boundaries of our police districts?
We're probably going to erase the playbook and start all over. We don't know if there's going to be Western Central. We don't know if there's going to be districts. We don't know if there's going to be divisions, patrol divisions. It may end up, and I know that Captain Donahue would love to talk about this as well, and I'll let him in a second, but we don't really know what it's going to look like. It could end up looking somewhat similar to what we have now, but I really feel that what we've wanted to do, our goal here is just to erase the chalkboard and start over, think of new ideas, think of new ways to look at our city and to the way we police it. Captain Donahue.
Great. And go ahead, Captain Donahue, because I have a question, but I'll write it down so I don't forget it. Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I actually love my two Southern Division council members that I have up here. So
they have them. Okay.
They're both mine.
Okay.
So what you found when the city council redistricted, they looked at different things than we're looking at when we redistrict the police department, right? The council looked at equity and population and division over a bunch of different aspects that didn't apply to calls for service, call volume, and call severity. We have to look at that. We have to look at thoroughfares and how we can get traffic around the city and how officers can respond from one side of a district to another. So there's other aspects of our redistricting that weren't applicable to the council's redistricting when that happened. So the result of that is going to be the same kind of overlap in all likelihood, where you may have one captain for your area, or you may have two or three. The same way Councilmember Dewan has the Western Division captain and the Southern Division captain in his area, right? So, but what that means for us is also this crossover. I have 5 council members that I have in my division, right? So I have slivers of Councilmember Dewan, Councilmember Davis, and then I have 3 full council members with Councilmember Jimenez, Batra, and Foley. So the results of this are kind of this overlap where there's a lot of play in the relationship between council and the police department divisions.
Right. And then with that, and I'm so glad that the lieutenant talked about it. So I was born and raised in the Washington neighborhood, and I believe it's called Lincoln, right? District Lincoln is it's a training area, right? Quote unquote training area, right? So growing up, when myself, a friend, somebody in the neighborhood got pulled over, right? I learned this when I was, when I started going to the neighborhood association meetings. I said, why 2 to 3 cops for a, traffic violation, whatnot? And then we realized that our area was a training area. And I believe Washington is still a training area, right?
Yes, it is. That's District Sam. It is a training area. Yes.
Okay. And so are we gonna think about training our officers in other areas other than just Washington? Is the Washington area just one training area, or there are multiple training areas?
No, there are multiple.
Okay.
That's the only one in that area, in that division. We also have a training area we have 2 training districts in Southern. In District Lincoln, which is right next door to District Sam, it used to be, but I don't believe that it is anymore. But we have I think 3 altogether. No, I'm sorry. We also have 2 in Foothill. Okay. Charles and Paul are also training districts as well.
Okay, and so we're gonna, because look, I know it's important. I know it's important to train our police officers to the best of our ability, and I know it's important to continue to keep our residents safe, right? But I also don't, as somebody who grew up in the area where we get pulled over and there was multiple police officers, right? I get that. I just don't want to continue to have our communities have that stigma, right? That we're over patrolled, that we're being used as guinea pigs, because that's what some of our residents say, by the way, right? Because of my interactions growing and living in that neighborhood, right? I grew up knowing that I have to put my hands up, that here's my ID, where I'm coming from, good thing I never had a gun, even though I've never owned a gun, and good thing I was never intoxicated, right? But, I learned how to deal with it, right? And I know right now we're going through a crazy moment in our time where we definitely need to rebuild the trust of our community and our San Jose Police Department, right? And I know that it's getting better, right? And I know that we are working, all of us are working for that goal. But that's that. So those are my comments. But thank you so much for your presentations. And with that, I move item D2. D2.
Second.
A motion is second. We have Vice Mayor that has some comments or questions.
Thank you so much for the report. One of the things that we're doing in D1, and Captain Spears has been tremendous in terms of giving us updates in the community, going to our D1 leadership group, and assisting us along the way to understand what's happening in our community. One of the things that we're doing is encouraging more reporting, more reporting. We keep telling the community members, next door is not the answer. We must report. We need to continue to report, even if you get, some of them are frustrated by, either slow response or whatever, but we're continuing to encourage that. And the one thing about encouraging people to report is that if they do that, then, it reflects in your numbers. So I'm just curious, as we create greater community engagement, in terms of how do you determine, like, oh my gosh, we're getting so much more from D1. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just wondering. We want people to engage. We want people to continue reporting. At our last meeting, we encouraged everyone to, participate in the program of their Ring cameras and stuff like that. We're all trying to be part of the solution to these issues. The other thing that I learned, which we didn't know, and it was great that Captain Spears made us aware of it, is that, once you go outside your house, even if you see a crime happening, I mean, in D1, we just had someone shot at because they went out to say, hey, what are you doing? You're messing with my car, getting the catalytic converter. And so you put yourself in harm's way. So I think that, I'm just curious in terms of, as you look at your data, as you're looking at, either spikes or what have you in different times, how do you differentiate that?
Thank you for your question, Vice Mayor. If I understand your question correctly, is how do we differentiate where these are occurring and how they're being reported, if they're being underreported or overreported?
Right.
That's something that we do look at. I know that for example, in our sexual assault investigation unit, I know that's something that they report on is where these calls are coming in from, and also looking at demographics, looking at what race people are reporting those crimes. And it's something that we use as far as our deployment and things like that. And it's something that we will continue to use in the future and we'll continue to report on.
Mhm. But are you seeing an increase in reporting, in actual reports?
Yes, we are. And I think it goes back to something we've discussed a lot in these in this meeting, which is that we're doing that intersectionality.
Right.
And I think that's had a really huge effect on the reporting, because we are not just waiting for people to tell us that in addition to this domestic violence, there's also been sexual assault, there's also been these other types of crimes. We're asking, and we know that the people don't like to report, and they have to be asked a lot of times, and that has had a great effect on it. And I also just think that education, like you mentioned, getting out there, telling people that we do want to know about these crimes and that we do need them reported for us to be able to do anything about them.
Thank you so much.
I think Councilmember Duan had an additional comment.
I know that you don't have enough, well, your fleet, you don't have enough vehicle, but I was just thinking perhaps we can use some of the vehicles that been in a wreck on one side that is going to go to surplus. We can place it at a certain area facing a certain way, right? That's a possible solution, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts about that.
Thank you for your suggestion. I think it's a good idea. I don't know how feasible it is, but it's something we can look into. In other words, you're talking about a car that's probably going to go out of service anyway due to mileage or repairs needed, or whether it be an engine trouble, and just have it parked there. Is that what you're suggesting?
That is correct.
That is something we can look into. I don't know if that's, Captain Donnie, do you know anything about any projects like that we've tried? It's a good idea. It's something that we can look into.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have two questions. One is with regard to the topic of redistricting. Do you anticipate, either of you, if the substation in South San Jose is going to play a role as it relates to dispatching officers and things of that nature?
Yes, and I know that no matter what I say, Captain Donahue's going to want to add something because that's his division.
Yeah.
But the obvious goal is to use the substation as a substation. I know that it was it was built for that purpose. It's built to have a division of patrol, even communications, working out of there. In other words, it was built to have officers respond there directly from home for their shift. There are locker rooms. There is everything that they would need there. There's a garage there. Everything they would need to respond directly from the substation, which is, again, what it was meant for. I know that the whole idea behind that substation, behind that building, was the decentralization of our department. You know, we have a very Mission Street centered department, and we want to branch out, and that is the goal of doing that. Part of that too is finding other ways of housing the other facets of the department that we have working out of the substation right now. It's being used as pretty much everything but a substation. So once we have other facilities that we can use for all of the other parts of the department that are using it, then we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, and I know obviously the building out of the police training facility with Measure T funds is also in District 2, but Captain, I don't know if you have anything to add.
That's actually a part of the deliverables from our contractor for the redistricting project, is to examine decentralization of the police department across all the divisions, not just Southern. So would there be a value to creating a Foothill or a Central or a Western substation? And then how would that come to be? How big would it need to be? How many personnel would deploy out of it? What would be the benefits of doing so? We definitely want to get into the southern substation. I know you and I have talked about this a lot. We have to wait until we can get the training center up and running. As soon as that's up and running, we can move training out of the substation and then move into the substation for patrol.
I appreciate that. And if in the report, if there's going to be discussion about other substations potentially, I would say, especially if that's the case, it's going to be super important to actually open the substation in the South San Jose before we even say we're going to go out and build something else, because that's been part of the perennial sort of comment from residents is like, hold on, we approved this back in, what is it, 2002 or whatever that was. And so anyway, just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it will definitely, southern substation's the priority. The report is going to examine other options, not launch us down that path.
No, I know, but I just, the residents are watching closer. They're gonna be like, wait a minute, you're talking about a new substation. You got to open that one first. But I get your point. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to ask about is well, actually, before I go there, the police training facility. Lee, do you have a sense as to when that's due to get? I think is it going to break ground this fall? That's what I thought I remember, but.
You know, I'd be guessing if I asked. So why don't I follow up with the committee once we can talk to real estate? I do anticipate it's supposed to be towards the end of this year, but I'm not 100%.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. The other, I don't know if anyone touched on this or if it was asked, so I apologize if I missed it. Is the RADF, the Regional Auto Theft Task Force? I know they typically put out bait cars and things of that nature. I'm not sure if that was asked, but the level of participation from the police department, are we actively participating in that, or how's that working out?
Thank you for your question. Yes, we have a sergeant that's working in that task force right now. I know that traditionally they have used bait cars and things like that. I don't know if they're doing that currently. And if they are, it may not be San Jose. It could be in other jurisdictions.
Right. So, because the task force, what cities does it cover? I know it's not just San Jose.
I know it's the entire county. So I know that they cover from Gilroy up to Santa Clara.
Okay. And do you happen to know how they decide whether they're going to do some of that work in, say, San Jose, South San Jose, downtown, or whether they're going to focus on another city?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I don't know specifics on that, but I think like everything else, it probably has to do with statistics where the crimes are occurring.
Okay, all right. And then I know I said two questions. I have one more related to Councilmember Torres' question about the training division or training areas, if you will. Can you share your thoughts about the value or the challenges that exist with putting new officers in field training in one of their maybe more, I'm going to be careful with the use of my language, but maybe more challenged, under-resourced areas that...
Busier
areas.
Is that the right word?
Yeah, busier areas. That is
yeah, I can speak to that. I was a patrol sergeant or an FTO sergeant for 3 years and an FTO officer before that.
Appreciate that.
And I can tell you that there's just no point in putting a training district in a district that's not busy. And by busy, I don't mean going to burglaries, cold burglaries, and things like that. We want them to really be busy, get their hands dirty, so to speak. We want them to make arrests. We want them to be dealing with danger because we don't know how they're going to be able to handle it on their own. When they have an FTO with them, it's like training wheels. And if we don't expose them to real police work and real busy police work, if they're sitting in a patrol car driving around for hours on end, and I've experienced that as well as an FTO officer, where we have what's called a whole night. 3 days a week, you're in your district, and then 1 day a week, you get sent out to some other district. And I've had recruits in my car when we've been in some of the areas of the city that are not busy, that have low volumes of calls for service. And you just feel like you're not getting anything done. They're not learning anything. And so that really is important. I do see the other side of that Councilman Torres was talking about. I think there has to be some kind of fine line that we can walk as far as not over representing, but also giving these young officers the experience that they need and the exposure that they need.
Okay, thank you for that. I know it's a delicate balance, right? So, and I thank you for the use of the busier districts. I was trying to think about how to phrase that. Those are all the questions I had. I don't see any more hands. I think there's a motion and a second on the floor, and I think Councilmember Kamei, if you can, Vice Mayor Kamei, if you can hear us, if you want to come back, but we'll go ahead and start the voting. Yeah, do it really slow.
Do we need Kamei to make the motion?
Oh,
or
I
to,
thought-
to
No,
vote?
We had a
Oh,
motion.
we have enough here, right?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, she
There's
seconded
three.
it.
Oh, yeah,
The
there's
Vice
three.
Mayor
Yeah,
seconded
so
it.
we're okay.
Okay, we'll go slow.
Torres,
Maybe I'll spell it. Y-E-A.
Kamei,
Oh,
Doen.
she could always come back. Oh,
There she is.
And
There we go. You're next.
Doen
aye.
and Jimenez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to, thank you so much, Lieutenant and Captain, appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and move on. Next is the rearrest of high-risk individuals and interagency coordination and pretrial release status report. That's a mouthful. Please, take it away.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Captain Steve Donnie of the San Jose Police Department, and I'm the commander of the Southern Division. Today I'll be speaking about our department's efforts in rearresting high-risk individuals and interagency coordination on pretrial release. I'd like to start by thanking our county partner, Assistant District Attorney James Gibbon Shapiro, who's with us today, waving at you from the crowd here. ADA Gibbon Shapiro has been a great ally in our efforts and will be able to answer any questions you may have for the District Attorney's Office regarding our collaboration. At this committee's April meeting, we provided an update on our interagency coordination related to pretrial release. And in that report, Captain Jimenez and I described our efforts in bail reform and alternatives to arrest. And today, I'm providing a report that has overlap in the bail reform area as it relates to interagency coordination. And we'll also dive into the intersection with the utilization of funds for rearresting high-risk individuals. And you may recall, we developed 3 outcomes in pretrial release through form revisions, relationships, and communication and training. Today, we're adding a 4th. And this is going to be taking innovative steps in addressing high-frequency offenders. So let me begin with 2 cases that I would like to highlight where we rearrested high-risk offenders. The first one, on September 16th of last year, the Metro Unit, our Violent Crimes Enforcement Team, Street Crimes, and the Downtown Services Unit executed a search warrant on an adult male suspect who was wanted for being a felon in possession of a firearm, being a felon in possession of ammunition, and narcotics violations. He had prior felony convictions for robbery with a firearm and misdemeanor convictions, including burglary, driving under the influence, and narcotics violations. Now, during the search warrant, the primary suspect was found to live with another adult male, and that second male had prior felony convictions for possession of a firearm. So that day, both gentlemen were found to possess firearms again, and one even had a laser and an extended magazine. They had 2 pounds of methamphetamine, 10 pounds of marijuana, and oxycodone pills. The primary suspect was rearrested and booked on 8 new charges, while the second suspect was arrested and booked on 4 new charges. The second event occurred on March 10th of this year, where our Merge Unit, Metro Unit, and Violent Crimes Enforcement Team executed a search warrant on an adult male suspect who was wanted for violation of his post-release community supervision, which is basically parole, but instead of the state monitoring you, the county monitors you. He was on this community supervision for identity theft. In addition to all that, he was out on bail for a different identity theft case, including domestic violence, being a felon in possession of a firearm, and narcotics out of Sunnyvale. He was a prior felon for stolen vehicles, identity theft, possession of stolen property, and burglary tools and narcotics violations. So during this search warrant, the suspect was found to be in possession of an unregistered firearm, ammunition, and narcotics. He was rearrested and booked into jail for 8 new charges. As you can see from the slide, we've had 15 cases since our last report where we rearrested high-risk individuals. Now, when we examined the expenditures for rearresting high-risk individuals, we discovered only $60,000 of the allotted $300,000 was spent on overtime to address these particular subjects, which brings us to our alternative proposal for how these remaining funds may be spent. In the beginning of May, we held a meeting with stakeholders from the city, the district attorney's office, the sheriff's office, and the judiciary to discuss how we could address high-frequency offenders. Now, we're differentiating between high risk and high frequency here. Now, this doesn't just address those who are high risk, but these are the people that monopolize an extraordinary amount of time, energy, and resources for the city and the county. Ultimately, we would like to reallocate the remaining $240,000 to address high-frequency offenders and the root causes of their interactions with the criminal justice system. And to do this, we will return to this committee late this year in our bi-monthly report with a proposal for a pilot project. It's our intention to collaborate with the city, county, judiciary, and community-based organizations to develop an innovative strategy that will reduce the need to rearrest offenders multiple times, thereby enhancing public safety. And thank you. We are now here for your questions.
Thank you, Captain. We're going to go to the community first. Do any public comment?
Paul? Paul, go ahead. I see you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, thank you. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. What I'd like to address is how do you define high risk, high offender? Like, where do you come up with those definitions? That's number one. Number two, when you executed the warrant on the post supervision, post release supervision, the PRCS, you had the assistance of the county probation department. So it wasn't just SJPD. So that warrant was going to be executed anyway, because the warrant was issued by the county, not the city. And so that needs to be clear. So that's why you had this leftover. And if you, and you know what, I'm not going to assume that you don't want to address the root causes of issues, but let me give you just a little bit of an education. Now, when redlining happened in 1939, it created certain systems that today, all you have to do is get the redlining map, put it on there, and there's all your hotspots. So we know that there's a causative effect, not correlation, but a causative effect of the redlining, the lack of resources, and crime. And what the city did is it criminalized the symptoms of the redlining, of the poverty, of all those systems that it created. And then it criminalized the symptoms so that the city would not have to assume responsibility for what they created. That needs to be, so if we're going to be sincere about it, and I won't assume that you're not. Well, if you are, we can no longer relegate that position to opinion, and it needs to be instituted as fact, because it is a fact. Because you can put that redlining map on those barrios today, and it's still Cadillac, Palmas, Horseshoe, East Hills, Capitol Park. So, I mean, it's so, like I said, if we're going to move in that direction, well, let's move.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman here. With my friend passing away a number of years ago now, about a few years later, the events of 9/11 happened. I kind of slowly drifted away from community life and practices and understandings. And boy, it's 2023. I'm still having trouble understanding things and returning to kind of a regular self. And so, I mean, this is important to me to understand this item. There's many ways to understand it and look at it, and I'll be interested to hear how you'll talk about it. And just thanks for it being here today, and good luck how we can talk about it in terms of well-balanced terms. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
Okay, any members of the committee want to have any questions or comments? No? Okay, we'll go to, before we entertain a motion, Lee, I think you have some thoughts.
Thank you, Chair. I did want to note that the second part of this recommendation is to cross-reference with the full council. As Captain Donahue mentioned, we continue to work with the county, the DA's office, which agreed, James has been a great partner, and a host of others. I think as we started this project, we thought it was one problem, and it's really turned into, as the captain mentioned, a number of other root causes. Or I know you guys have heard me talk about this before when it comes to homelessness, but you know, federalism is lovely sometimes, but also really complicated, right? So the state, county, a lot of other judiciaries involved. So a lot of decisions, sometimes that are made in the way of decriminalizing something, which is very important, may cause a chain reaction. And so we find ourselves kind of in a policy development and policy implementation kind of puzzle here. So we want to continue to work on this. So when this does come forward to council, hopefully by August, we'll be attaching a supplemental with possible more recommendations on how to expend that money, or just direction for us to continue to work with the DA's office, the judges, and the county.
Makes sense to me. Thank you. Any questions given that? Okay. Yes, Vice Mayor Kamei.
Thank you so much. You know, this is an area that I think that many of, at least my constituents, ask me about. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And when we explain to them our limitations, it's not something that's very understandable. It's like, well, how? So I think that, you know, when this comes back to council, it would be great to see, you know, what you've learned and really try to find ways of giving us some you know, ideas or talking points regarding these are the things that we're able to do. These are the things that we're not able to do. Because I think that there's a huge misunderstanding of our abilities and how we really are, in many cases, limited. So when there are multiple offenses, it's something that I don't think that is understood clearly. So I just think that it's going to be really, really important. I'm delighted that the collaboration is happening. I think that it makes a lot of sense. That's something that I will let people know, hey, we're doing this. And we are looking at, you know, multiple offenders. And, you know, that's something that I know I'm very interested in. I hear it constantly. What are we doing on the multiple offenders? And it just seems like we can't just throw up our hands and say, oh, we can't do anything. And I just think that whatever I can do to assist or help, let us know.
Thank you for that. Not seeing any other comments, we'll entertain a motion in a second.
I would so move the report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second.
I'm sorry, do we have to say what Lee told us to say, or just because we said so moved?
Well, I don't know if he told it. He just was mentioning that there's going to be an additional.
It's part of the recommendation. So when you accept the report, if you could also mention cross-referencing.
Correct. Sorry about that. Yes. So cross-references in the motion? Okay.
Yes.
Second.
Sorry. Okay, thank you for catching that. Appreciate it. So let's vote.
Torres,
Yes.
Kamei,
Yes.
Doan,
Aye.
and Jimenez. Thank you.
Yes. We're going to go to open forum. Any comments from the public?
Paul?
Yes. I can't believe I just heard what I heard. I heard a sitting councilman ask, what do I say? Do I say what he wants us to say? Wow. I mean, that I couldn't, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around hearing that from somebody that was voted into that position in order to represent us. And he's asking questions on how to vote. That's troubling. That is troubling to me because it means that he doesn't have a mind of his own. It means that he is not representing the constituency.
I'd tune him out, man. I don't know.
Hello?
Go
Hello?
ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
But that's cool, Jimenez. You went ahead and put that on the table, and that's cool. You go ahead and you tune me out. That's cool. At least that's your honest answer. I'm not going to hold that against you. Not at all. I'd rather your honesty than the smile, than the mocking smile, and then the backstab behind the back. Check this out, man. Your coded language came in loud and clear. Loud and clear. It's no puzzle what time it is with me and what's happening. Not a puzzle at all. But I'll tell you this much. What it is that you guys did with Overton and the way that you got her, Robert Bible went in there and said, "Shate, he is no threat, he is no danger." They didn't let the other cop testify because I would have gotten the benefit of the doubt because there was only 2 cops testifying. Only 2. And I would have got the benefit of the doubt.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Thanks for the meeting today. It was informative. Good luck on working on ARPA issues. I think we can be creative enough to look for where to hold ARPA funds. It doesn't have to be in the police department. It can be in more health and human services departments. We're creative. We're smart. We're decent. Let's try to do that. I would like to work in ways that can better address how issues connected to Measure E may affect the San Jose community in the future. I would like to work towards a healing process by sharing good knowledge and understandings. With Measure E issues finally settled, I worry there can be some next stages of debate and arguments in what may be some of the underlying subject matter of the recent Measure E questions. I feel San Jose, we're going to have to again return to questions of how to better address the future of market rates versus affordable housing issues in the next few years. And Mayor Mahan and some on City Council will want to continue to work towards market rate housing ideas, as among the usual questions and fears conservatives can sometimes have that market rate housing is the best way to develop an economy, and that how to better address possible upcoming increases in building of homes overall. An interesting point, I feel, yet there's also some upcoming interesting good ideas of middle income housing development. I feel it is a soft yet hopeful way to come out of the era of COVID-19 and to reinvigorate the housing market in steady, decent ways, and that has a very good flexibility in how to begin to build housing and prepare local California communities for the ideas of mixed income that are mandated by the state of California in only 6 years from now. I hope we can look at these things and really study them and work as a community process with good dialogue that on these sort of issues. And I'll want to talk more about this stuff. And thanks for your time.
Thank you. We have one speaker card for Joseph Nambo.
Yes, please.
You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Hey, I'm Joseph Namba, here on behalf of PACT, partly on behalf of PACT and SPA, a campaign group that campaigned at San Jose State to demand the city adopt the hybrid model mentioned in the report entitled Investigations of Police Misconduct in San Jose, created by the law office of the law firm of Mueller Curry. The report recommends that the city adopt the hybrid model, in which you should know some investigations are completed by law enforcement personnel and other investigations are completed by professional civilian investigators who are independent of the police department. Implementation of this model would involve retaining the existing internal affairs investigative function within the police department, while at the same time adding investigatory authority and staff capacity under the IPA. And the report makes 24 discrete recommendations organized into 14 categories that are intended to implement the hybrid model. My hopes are for this hybrid model to weed out bad apples from the department that shouldn't be considered officers, and weed out the bad apples that don't represent the 99% of officers that passionately serve their communities to protect the citizens of their hometowns. But also, I hope that it can create new innovations that we haven't imagined before, to make the lives of officers easier and make
Thank you.
our city's department more efficient. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your
And we
comments.
have one more public
Appreciate it.
comment on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay.
Mary?
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead, Mary. Mary, we heard you and then we don't hear you anymore. Mary?
Okay, seems like we're having some issues. No one else in public, no one else online that we can hear, right?
That's going to be all.
Okay.
There's no more public comment.
Okay, all right. So that takes us to the end of the meeting. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Have a nice July.